My name is Sonja, and I work for Share the World's Resources in London. And the first time I've heard about basic income was literally about a year ago, exactly, almost a year ago. I met Anja Askeland, who is very involved with basic income and has been very involved for a long time. And we met at a different conference, and she was telling me all about basic income, and I told her all about Article 25, which is something that we very strongly support at Share the World's Resources. And at one point, we just looked at each other and we said, oh my God, we're almost doing the same thing. And at that point, we thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if these two things could actually come together, Article 25 and basic income, because it will make a much stronger case for both of us. Well, basic income and Article 25, they've got one thing very strongly in common. They talk about all the people. Nobody is excluded. It talks about all the countries. Everybody is involved. And basic income is the monetary side of things. And Article 25 is the basic needs that we all have around the globe. So Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says that everyone has got the right to housing, to food, to medical care, clothing, all the basics that we need, which, in the world as we are today, we should not be lacking it. Nobody should be lacking it. So the strong case with Article 25 would be that it would actually force the governments, if it was to be implemented globally, and it is very, very important, we think, that it is implemented globally, both basic income and Article 25, but it would actually force the governments to work together for the very first time, because the North is much richer than the South, and the South will need the help from the North to secure the basic incomes of everybody. So for that to happen, governments truly have to work together for the good of all. And I think that is a very strong case, for both of them. And we feel once the governments are working together, really in unison, then basic income, follows automatically. It would also mean that, for example, if the basic needs are to be met for everyone, the money has to be found, which is always a big question, even in the basic income movement. People always say, well, where is this money going to come from? Well, there's a lot of money in the world, and STWR, or Share the World's Resources, actually produced a report a few years ago on where that money can be found, and it's actually not so hard. We are spending an awful lot on military budgets, for example, and if governments truly work together for the good of all, then surely we can cut the military budget for starters. And there are so many other corners that can be cut where the spending is going now, where it actually can come, it can actually go to the people, rather than being invested something that will carry on harming humanity. A lot of people, I think, they still have not quite grasped that, we should all receive money for free. I think that is the biggest obstacle that we've got, really. People are saying, well, I'm working, why should others have money for free? Or if people now receive money for free, it will make them lazy. Or where is that money coming from? Like I said earlier on, a lot of people are saying, well, it's a utopian idea. Where are we going to find this money? Life is already getting worse and worse, even in the developed countries. The social services are starting to being cut. Housing benefits are being cut. So where is all this money going to come from? People don't really understand that concept yet. And I think that is why it is so important also to go to people directly and actually explain where this money is going to come from. Now this is where I've got to be careful not to cry, but I'll try and say it as best I can. I think the world is in such a sad state at the moment. There's 40,000 people, they're dying needlessly every single day because of lack of food, for starters, lack of medicine. And I think as a humanity, we are one, are we not? There is only one humanity, and what happens to our brothers and sisters also happens to us. And we can see that, for example, in the refugee crisis. If one country is in a terrible state, they will want to move to a country that is in a better position. But in the long term, countries might not be able to cope with that. So why do we not help them to solve their problems where they are? And, at the moment we are facing very big global issues, so many different aspects of it, whether it is climate change, whether it's poverty, whether it's wars. And global problems need global solutions, so we cannot exclude anybody from this. Everybody has to be included in it, and that is why basic income is so important, to give hope to people for the very first time in their lives. You know, people receiving food, for example, for the very first time in their lives, you know, on a regular basis, you know, must be amazing for them. You know, if you're holding your child dying in your hands because, you know, you've got nothing to give him, it must be devastating. And that is something I think we have to remember, that whatever happens to the poorest of our humanity also happens to us, and it needs to change. It's time to change.